And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Translators On Air. My name is Dmitry Kornyukhov. I'm your host. Join me today, my incredible co-host, Elena Tereshchenkova. Hi, Elena.
Hi, everyone.
And our guest today, Martina Eco. Hi, Martina.
Hi.
Martina is the owner and manager of 3P Translation. It's a translation and interpreting company that helps small and medium-sized businesses in the UK food, tourism, and hospitality industries enter the Italian market with bespoke linguistic consultancy, marketing translation, and business interpreting services. Martina also supports other freelancers with a blog dedicated to marketing, business planning, and business development, and with presentations and workshops in and outside of London. Martina works as a business and marketing consultant at London South Bank University, where she also recently joined the School of Business academic team. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about marketing, what a marketing strategy is and how it's different from marketing tactics, what aspects you need to consider when building a marketing strategy, and what tools, channels, and activities you can use to market your services. So very exciting topic. But before we jump to it, I'm going to make a few quick announcements, as always. The fourth season of Translators On Air has been sponsored by our friends at SmartCat. SmartCat offers great technology where you can connect with clients, find more work, and use their CAT tool, and all of that is absolutely free for you. So if this is something you're interested in, check out SmartCat by clicking the green shiny button below this video. Or if you're watching or listening this in the recording, you can always visit the first link in the description. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have quite a few people here. Hello, Francois, Oriel, Benoit, Elena, Tanya, Eleonora, Deborah, Luz, Natalia, Anna, Fabian, Isabel, Francesca, Kate, Chiara, and Jessica. Sorry if I butchered any of your names. I didn't mean to do that. It's quite difficult for me because we have such an international crowd here today, and as always, so I apologize for that. I noticed a few new faces here, so I'm going to quickly explain how this platform works. This is a live webinar. Everything is happening in real time. You can use the chat window on the right-hand side to say hello and hi. I can see that you already guys did, most of you. Hello, everyone. And you can also ask questions. We have a dedicated Ask a Question section below this video. You can ask your questions there, and Martina, Yelena, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Or you can upvote the questions that you're most interested in, because we already have a few questions there. Of course, these webinars are best enjoyed with friends and colleagues. So if you could spare a few moments of your time, please share the link to this webinar from your browser window. Go on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or any other social network or forum or group that you love to use, and invite your friends and colleagues to join us today, because we still have a few spaces left, and these webinars are much more enjoyable when you have your friends and colleagues around. All right, thank you so much, everyone, and hope you'll join today's webinar. Okay, Martina, over to you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are really excited to have you on our show. I already made a quick introduction. I talked a little bit about you, but it would be lovely if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you ended up in this beautiful profession.
Yeah, so I've run my business for about 5 years now. I'm celebrating my 5th anniversary on the 8th of January in 2018.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I don't want to say I kind of stumbled upon it, but, well, I had always been fascinated with foreign languages ever since I was a kid. My parents used to listen to a lot of English music, American music. So I was always used to listening to another language growing up. And obviously, when I started to listen to my own music, I wanted to know what, my favorite singers and bands were saying. Mm-hmm. So I would sit in my room with an old-fashioned paper dictionary, trying to understand what like Nirvana and Hole and Pearl Jam were saying, basically. So studying foreign languages was something that I knew ever since I was very young. And while I was writing my dissertation for my BA, my supervisor suggested that I look at subtitles for Friends, the TV show, which was something that I had not considered. I was thinking something more towards literature or linguistics, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I decided that I wanted to be a subtitler, a translator, and then somehow I didn't get accepted into a master's for audiovisual translation, but I got accepted into one for interpreting. Absolutely fell in love with it, continued my studies in specialized translation. And then after a couple of years of running my business, I decided that I needed something more, because I saw myself as just a freelancer, just a translator, but I knew that I could achieve so much more if I became a business person. And that's why I decided to move to London, start studying marketing at master's level, and get involved with as many opportunities as possible that my university has to offer in terms of entrepreneurship, business, marketing, workshops, etc., etc. So that's pretty much how I got to this point.
Awesome. And where did you study the marketing program?
At London South Bank University, which is the place where I'm working and recording from right now, in very dark and windy London, which is a university that has won an award as Entrepreneurial University of the Year in 2016 because of this ecosystem of entrepreneurial activities that they have created for students, graduates, and the larger business community, which is pretty amazing.
Sounds awesome. So the topic for today's conversation is marketing. And can you tell us why did you decide to talk about this topic, and why do you think it's important for freelance translators?
Yeah, so again, as I mentioned, I studied marketing for the past 3 years, and I've been applying my knowledge in my role as an advisor and now supervisor in a business solution center, in which we help small businesses with queries related to business development, marketing, business planning, etc. And I think that marketing is absolutely a crucial function for any business, even for the smallest business, because obviously marketing is all about getting your message out there, and getting yourself out there. And if you're not out there, you're not going to do any business with anyone. So it's absolutely fundamental for freelancers, translators, interpreters, any small business owner in this world. And it's also something I'm extremely passionate about, because there is something new coming up every single day. So there's a lot of work behind marketing in terms of keeping up with trends and new tools and new social networks and new strategies that one can implement, which is what I do pretty much on a daily basis.
Great.
But I guess the most important thing to use all those tools successfully is to have a strategy, and that's what we're going to talk about. So that's what a marketing strategy is, and why.
Definitely.
Is it the cornerstone of everything you do?
Absolutely. So a strategy is basically a plan that is designed to reach a specific goal. It's what I call your master plan or your recipe, and I'm going to explain that a little later on. It's a long-term vision that guides every single action that you take in terms of your marketing activities. And it's absolutely crucial because it gives you direction, it gives you a focus, it's kind of like a guide for your activities, and it's also a good way to benchmark your efforts, so to see whether what you're doing is successful, whether you're achieving your goals, and whether these goals are aligned to your general business goals. So for example, let's say that the business goal for a Guy translator is to have at least £2,000 per month in net profits. what can marketing do to achieve that? It may be that this person has to find new clients. It may be that this person has to reduce its expenses. It may be that they have just to increase sales with the clients that they already have, if they're comfortable with the amount of clients that they have and the type of clients that they have. And all of this is detailed in a marketing strategy. And I mentioned the word roadmap because I think that it kind of works like a travel towards success. So the first thing to think about is, where are we now? Obviously, if we want to know how to get to a certain place, we have to know where we are. It's the same with like Google Maps. You have to go to B, but you need to know where A is, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, knowing where you are in terms of your business, but also the world around you, which is the political situation of your country and the markets you operate in, the competitor landscape. Very important to understand what others are doing, what is working, what is not working. You can get inspiration. You can find a niche that can be really targeted, that is not being served yet. And it's really important to understand how all of this plays together for your marketing strategy. So understand what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and also what the market offers in terms of opportunities and threats. But first of all, one needs to know who their customers are, who their clients are. Obviously, the world is our oyster. As translators, we can operate on a global market, which is absolutely fantastic, but it also makes things very difficult when it comes to finding the right niche to target, because we may be overwhelmed by the amount of companies and individuals and organizations that might need a translation in our language combination. But how do we go about and find our niche? I would say, first of all, obviously the language combination. So you will obviously operate in markets where your languages are spoken, but mainly your specialist field. So if you have specific knowledge in a particular area, or you have a passion, even just a hobby, like for me, travel is, a big part of my life. I have worked in the travel industry before, but I gravitated towards the travel industry because it was a huge passion of mine. Same with food. Being a VIP, meaning very Italian person, everything I do in my life is related to food. So obviously I gravitated towards the food industry, and I started to kind of get more informed and learn the basics of it and the specific lingo that is used in that industry. But yeah, I'm going a bit off the road, but so finding the niche, and then within that industry where your specialisms can really help, you can still go deeper down in segmenting your market. So for example, you could choose companies based on their size, based on their corporate culture. So whether you like to work with more traditional companies that work from top down, or if you want to work with more creative, dynamic, and young companies that have maybe a flat hierarchy or no hierarchy at all. And I'm thinking, for example, Microsoft versus Apple. I think you can understand the distance. So Microsoft being the traditional kind of company versus Apple, the creative, the design focused company. And obviously those two have pretty much the same, they're in the same sector. So both could be a client, but maybe depending on how you like to think of company culture, corporate culture, you may want to choose one or the other. You could go, depending on the way they communicate, whether they're very active on social media or whether they prefer traditional means of communication. That could be segmenting criterion as well. There are so many, and it could depend on the type of people that work in the company, whether it's young or old people, whether they're, they have offices in that country or that other country. There are a lot of things that you can look at to segment your market and really find a niche that you can target that is either not being served yet or is being served, but at that point you can offer something different from the competition. So the first thing, again, is to find the right segment and to target it, which means getting to know as much as possible about that segment in order to communicate your value to them in the best possible way. Then I mentioned knowing what is going on around you and within your own business. So doing some analysis to kind of find out what is happening in the world that could have an impact on your business in terms of the general, the country that you're in, the countries that you trade with, or even just the city or the region. So just to give you an example, here in London, they're building a new tube line, which means that areas in the outskirts of London or even just outside of London, which will be served by the area, will see a massive increase in the amount of tourists who will go there. And this is just a small change if you think about it, but it could really, really change the way that those businesses operate, and a translator could operate with those businesses in the hospitality industry, etc., etc. This was just an example, but there are so many. Brexit is a major one that is affecting us in the UK, and I don't even want to talk about it. Yeah, very sad. But anyway, so kind of understanding what is going on around you, what is going on within your business, what is working, what is not working, what you want to change, and why you want to change it as well, because there may be very different reasons why we want to either, change our clients, increase our rates. It may be because we just want more money, or it may be because, I don't know, I can imagine a female translator who's expecting a kid that needs to kind of save up before going on maternity leave in countries where maternity leave for freelancers is not paid. So even knowing why you want to change a few things can help you find a way to achieve that in the best possible way. And at that point, one can perform a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to kind of map out how you can exploit your strong features, your strong points, to either take advantage of market opportunities or minimize market threats, and also to kind of mitigate your own weaknesses, because we're only human, we all have weaknesses. And that's really important, a very important tool to use. And obviously, once we know where we are, we need to have a vision of where we want to go. And in order to do that, SMART goals are the way to go. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So for example, saying I want to increase my turnover doesn't really tell us anything on how to do that. But if I say I want to increase my turnover by 30% by the end of the financial year, and I want to do that by increasing the number of my customers by 10%, increasing my rates by 10%, etc., that gives us a clear direction, definite target to aim for in the future with our marketing activities and all the rest, because it's not just about marketing, it's all about the business plan as well, particularly for smaller businesses. And once we know where we are and where we want to go, we can see how we can get there. And that is orchestrated by the marketing mix. So our products, in our case, our services. So what do we want to offer to our target market? How much will it cost? How we're going to promote that, and where do we need to be in order to reach our target customers? And the last but not least important part of a marketing strategy is that it allows us to track our progresses and benchmark our achievements against our goals and see whether we're going in the right direction or if we need to tweak things around to make that goal become a reality. So that is what I mean by roadmap. Know where you are, know where you want to go, find out how you want to get there, and see whether you're going in the right direction or not, just like Google Maps, basically.
Great. So you mentioned that in order to start developing a marketing strategy, you need to have some sort of a roadmap for your goals and where you want to be. What are some of the most important things that should be on your roadmap? And we have a few people who don't have a marketing background like you do. So can you recommend some sort of resources or places where people could get, for example, a template of a standard marketing plan or a roadmap?
Definitely. So I think one of the best tools that I've been using so far is the business model canvas. Now, it's not specifically a marketing strategy model, because basically a marketing strategy doesn't really have a template. That is a marketing plan, which kind of details that roadmap that we build in our minds with a marketing strategy. But the business model canvas is extremely, extremely useful because it gives you a snapshot of your current situation as well as where you want to be. It's divided in 9 areas, and you can kind of use color-coded post-it notes or just write on it. And the good thing about it is that it's not basically stuck in time like a proper business plan, which is only as good as the minute you finish writing it, probably not even then. But it's much more dynamic, and you can have a clear vision of what you want your business to look like. And there is a lot of marketing within the business model canvas. And I use Tazit. I'm going to put that in the comments. It's a French website that has a bunch of different templates for business purposes. One of them is the business model canvas. You can kind of write things in it, add notes, add stickers, add pictures, etc. Save it. You can download it. You can work on it online. And it also has a template for pastel analysis, which stands for political, economic, social, legal, technological, and environmental analysis, which is what I was talking about before, knowing what is going on in the world around you. And in order to find out about these things, Google is your best friend. Newspapers are your best friends. Twitter with all the articles that get shared, as well as Facebook. Any opportunity you have to get informed about your market and your external environment is a great way to kind of keep an eye on developments and updates and keep yourself on track with what is going on in the world. It also has a template for SWOT analysis, which is what I mentioned before. And it has a digital marketing canvas that I find really useful. It's very similar to the business model canvas, but it's dedicated to digital marketing. In terms of marketing plans, so having that kind of roadmap written down, there is a very nice one on Marketing Donut. So that's marketingdonut.com. It has a template, a marketing plan template, which kind of has explanations before each of the sections, which I think can be really useful. And then you can find a lot of sample plans on mplans.com. And then Alessandra Martelli from MTM Translations, I think it was last year, she did a marketing plan template, which I find really nice. I'm just going to write that down too. But do bear in mind that particularly being micro enterprises, being, you know, one-man or one-woman businesses, templates can be a bit constrictive. So make sure that the structure that you use works for you and you don't have to work around a structure that is not really suitable for what you want to do. For example, if you're just starting out and you don't really have a budget in terms of money, that budget can be transformed in a time budget. So how much do you want to spend in terms of your time rather than how much money do you want to spend for that particular marketing activity. So again, there is no one template that one can use. There are many templates to choose from, and I think the best thing is that everyone can build their own, and obviously it takes some time to kind of tweak it the way you want it to be, but the more you work on a marketing plan and a business plan, the better you get at, you know, understanding what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you so much for sharing those resources. I don't think I know any of those resources, so I'm going to be checking them out.
And I found out about Tazit, I was like, mind blown. It's fantastic, like really seriously fantastic.
Great. So you've talked about marketing and explained what marketing is and what marketing strategy is. Can you tell a little bit more about marketing activities? Because as freelance translators, there are certain activities that we need to do in order for us to get our message across and to attract as many new customers as possible. So what kind of promotional tools, channels, or activities can freelance translators use?
All right, so okay, so these type of marketing activities is what are called tactics. So the means that you use to reach your goal that you set out in your marketing strategy. And that's a lot of time I hear, oh, I have this, I don't know, social media strategy, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you look at it in terms of your general marketing strategy, social media is just a tactic. It's a way that you can use to achieve your goal. And there are a huge amount of tactics or activities or tools, whatever you want to call them, to kind of get our message across. Obviously, I mentioned social media. It's a huge thing right now, but I would say look at it with caution, because depending on who your clients are, they might not use social media at all. So just to give you an example, if you target, if you translate for the fashion industry, and you just heard that LinkedIn is the best social platform for reaching potential, like, interested parties, you spend all your time on LinkedIn and you achieve no results. And why is that? It may be, I don't do fashion, but I'm imagining that the most used platform for them would be something more visually based. So I'm thinking Instagram, I'm thinking maybe Facebook, I'm thinking YouTube. So those would be the best platforms to build your micro strategy around to target your market. On the other hand, if you do legal translations, then maybe LinkedIn is the best way to go. Or maybe not even LinkedIn. It may be that it's a case that you have to go around your local area and kind of drop off a brochure or just a business card, attend meetups, attend conferences that your target market goes to. So there are a lot of tools and activities that you can carry out depending on who your clients are and where they are. So as I mentioned before, place is one of the 4 P's of marketing, and is, I want to say, possibly one of the most important ones, because if you're not in the right place, you're not going to be seen by your target market. So in terms of offline, you obviously have your business cards that are tools that you can use. And I would say that's probably the first thing to get, because even if you're on a train, you may meet a potential client who may be interested in what you do. Brochures could be a very good way to communicate your value to your clients. For example, if you attend trade shows or conferences in your particular sector, you could have like posters. If, for example, I'm thinking for interpreters who work in public service, I'm thinking maybe in councils here in the UK, and I'm sure there is an equivalent in pretty much every country, there will be boards where you can stick your poster. Maybe, you live here in London, there are some areas that are have very strong national communities. So if you serve that community, it may be a good idea to stick a poster in the, I don't know, council notice board, or even in the Starbucks. I mean, why not? Depending on who goes to that Starbucks. It's all about where your target market is. And my favorite offline activity is by, you know, absolutely networking. I was on a panel the other day, and one of my co-panelists said, network the shit out of it. And I was like, yes, you're absolutely right. The more people you meet, the better chances you have of reaching just the right person. And it may be that the people you meet at that particular networking event are not your target market, target segment, but they may know someone, and that someone may know someone else. You know, there is this saying, I'm not sure who said it first, but networks are your net worth. And I absolutely agree with that. My best clients are people I've met over drinks at networking events. And why is that? Because in person, you can build that personal relationship right then and there. You're not constricted by the words that you use in an email or a profile picture, or, you know, a voice over the phone. You have, you know, 70% of our communication is body language. So you can use that body language to communicate your personal brand, your value as well. And also trust is better built in person rather than online. So that's, to me, it's the best way to find potential clients and build better relationships with those potential clients. In terms of the online, you obviously can have a website which can act as kind of a shop window for whatever you do, whoever you are. In there, it's, you control it, so you can communicate your personal brand the best possible way. You can kind of pull together all of your other online marketing tools and channels in your website, so you can link it through to a blog, you can link it through a newsletter, you can link it through your social media accounts, which are the other tools that I was about to mention. So obviously a newsletter, you know, a blog, to me is particularly interesting, because in a blog, basically by sharing fresh new content, it's easier to get higher up in Google rankings, so it makes your website easier to find. And yeah, social media, all of them, just one of them, wherever your clients are, basically. There is no golden rule. And I mentioned before that the marketing strategy for me is like a recipe, because to me, marketing is like baking a cake, right? So you have to know who you're baking it for, because that will have an impact on the ingredients that you choose, for example. You have to know what kind of cake you want to have, how it looks, whether it has like 2 or 3 layers, if it's covered in buttercream, if it has to be chocolate or strawberries and something. And then you can decide on your ingredients, which are the 4 P's of the marketing mix. So place, product, price, and promotion. And then you can choose the tools that you use to actually make the cake. So, you know, how do you do your promotions? How do you, how can you be in the place where you need to be? How do you price your services? What kind of services do you offer, depending on your target market? And I see a lot of cakes coming up, so yay. Everyone is hungry now, myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a question about the messaging, because obviously your marketing will be, the marketing strategy will be impacted by the type of clients you're after. How do you develop the messaging and the image of your company so that you could attract the right kind of customer? What are some of the things you need to consider, and how you can measure the effectiveness of your marketing efforts and your marketing message?
Yeah, so in terms of finding out how to communicate to those clients and what kind of image you want to project onto them, which is your brand positioning in technical terms, I'd say that the best way is to, first of all, observe what your target market is doing. So I use the example of traditional companies versus creative dynamic companies. If you just go online and have a look at their communications, you will see how different they are in terms of the register they use, the tone of voice that they use, just even the single words and for example, the person they refer to in their communications. So you will have, okay, this doesn't really work in English because you is you for both singular or plural. But in Italian, there is a difference between singular person and plural person. So just having a look at how formal the language is and who that particular company is talking to can help you fine-tune your own communications to, if you want to attract that particular client, because it tells you a lot about how they prefer to communicate as well. So definitely go on their websites, do your research, go on their social media channels and find out how they act on each of them. Subscribe to their newsletters and their blogs and see what's going on in their company. And in their environment as well, and obviously keep up to date with what is going on in that sector in particular, because that might tell you a lot about potential gaps that you can fill, potential problems that your customers may be facing and that you can solve. There is a lot of research that one can do. And as I mentioned before, network with them. Go to conferences, go to meetups, go to, breakfasts, dinners, drinks, wherever your target market may be. And even if you're not, you don't need to go there to sell. You're going there to get to know your target market as much as possible, to do, let's say, some informal market research. You don't have to go there with like questionnaires and surveys and stuff and write it down, but just having a look at the person in front of you and see even just their appearance. Are they dressed, in a full suit, or are they more smart casual? Are they in their jeans and their t-shirts? Because that tells you a lot about how they can be communicated to. If they want you to be more formal, more I want to say professional, but professional in any case, but serious, that's the word I was looking for. Or if they prefer to work with service providers who are a bit more hip and, dynamic, young, fresh, etc., etc. So I would say that is the best possible way to find out about your target market. And obviously see where they are, not just online, but also offline. So again, I mentioned the trade shows, the conferences, the meetups. Most of the times, the companies will list the trade shows and the conferences they're exhibiting at on their websites or on their social media. So that's a great chance for you to kind of go and poke them on the shoulder and say hi. Once you've done your research, you have a lot of, let's say, conversational topics that you can kind of go through and show your interests and build that trust that is so needed in an industry like ours.
You have mentioned quite a lot of things which freelance translators can do in order to market their services. So an obvious question is, how do you find time for our marketing activities? And probably, to be more specific, how much, what percentage of the time we're spending on work we should spend on marketing? Well, at least.
Right. So I would say there is no magic recipe for it. It's all about managing our own schedule to fit marketing activities. I would say the best possible way is to just cut out a few hours every single week to dedicate to market research, to segmenting, to finding companies that we want to target, to crafting personalized emails, for example, or specific messages that we want to send through social media, specific blog posts that we want to write, specific social media content, finding trade shows, finding meetups, because that does take some time, and see whether they fit with our schedule. So for example, every couple of months, I go on the 2 main conference centers websites here in London, look at what trade shows are going on, when they are, whether I can make it, how much they cost, whether there are any companies that I might be interested in meeting. And I take, a couple of hours every 2 months just to do that exactly. I'm not super great at planning my social media posts because of all the other commitments that I have right now. I kind of do some freestyling for the time being, but my New Year resolution is to have a proper editorial calendar. But I do try and find the time to write at least 1 blog post per month, and I take 3 hours of my time just to do some research, put the content together, and then publish it, to have a look at what others do on social media as well, what are the trends that are going on, whether there are any hashtags that I should really, really know about that my industry seem to be revolving around. And obviously, every single person will have a different, let's say, time budget for their marketing activities. I'm thinking that people who are just starting out will need to invest a little bit more time in their marketing efforts, because obviously they will need to kind of grow their customer base as much as possible, at the beginning. And then the further you go on, the less you have to do to attract customers. There will be customers who will come to you, or it may be that you're so full of work that you don't really have to do any super targeted marketing campaigns to find new clients. It may be that the clients you have and the amount of work that you have in that particular moment is good, so you can concentrate on a more longer term strategy or tactic to achieve your goals. But always keep your goals in mind, and depending on how much you want to grow your business, because ultimately, we all want to grow our business. We all want to kind of earn better income, possibly earn more and work less. So depending on what your objective is, you can see how long it takes you to achieve your goals. Yeah, some Elena is saying 10 minutes a day spent on marketing is better than nothing. By all means. For me, it's like half a day at the end of the week to work on my marketing, and then I take like half an hour each day to keep an eye on social media. So there are different ways to do it. It also depends, like, whether you're a morning person or a night owl. You will do your marketing at different times of the day, or you will do your work when you're most productive, and then you can leave marketing for when your brain is not, 100%. And obviously, like, doing research on clients doesn't take as much energy as, I don't know, super technical translation.
Right. We
have a very interesting question from our audience. Sandra asks, have you done any type of ad campaigns such as Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, or Google ads? Would you recommend any of these?
I haven't done any ad campaigns at the moment, but I'm considering it. So I can let you know in a few months' time.
How it goes.
Yeah.
And what are the 3 most effective marketing activities in your experience?
Networking. No, right. So networking definitely
is the most effective. Okay.
Definitely, by all means, and it's also the most fun. To be honest, I used to hate networking, like hate it so much, because I thought like, oh, I have to walk up to that person and I have to pitch in like, I have 3 seconds to give my best first impression, and then I have 30 seconds to pitch, and what if I forget a word, or what if I stumble, and blah blah blah. It got me like so nervous that I would just, you know, sit in a corner with my drink just waiting for someone to walk up to me and start a conversation. And then I attended a workshop here at the university. It was an extracurricular workshop, and the presenter said something that kind of completely changed my way of seeing networking. And it was, networking is not about selling, it's about building relationships. I was like, you know what? I am maybe good at that, because I'm not too shy in the end. Like when I'm comfortable, I'm like very talkative, very like Italian, so to say. So that really, really changed the way I was seeing networking, and it has led to so many results for me. So as I mentioned, my best clients came through networking activities, just very informal ones. Another great way, in my opinion, is to have a website, just because I think that CVs in our industry, unless you only work with agencies, they don't really matter that much. A client wants to interact with another business, not with a job seeker, so to say. So I think that a website is a great way to showcase who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, how you do it, how you can help that client solve a problem that they might not even know they have, and to kind of, act as just a shop window, basically, as a funnier CV or better looking CV, something like that.
I always say about the website that it's a digital equivalent of having an office.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a virtual office, and it's a great way for people to find out more about us. You can showcase your best traits, and you can be, as transparent and genuine as possible. Or if you just want to show your super professional side, you can do that. It's your own media, so you can absolutely do that. And the third one, I would say, is social media in some form or another, because obviously you can get in touch in a more social and direct way with your target market, but also you can network with colleagues. There are a lot of like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, a lot of interesting conversations going on Twitter, so you can keep up to date with the industry. You can find partners, you can find help, and you can get a lot of referrals too, if you kind of show that you're competent and professional, and that you help the community will help you back. You may get some jobs out of it as well from colleagues who are, possibly the best clients, because they absolutely understand what you're going through. And then bonus tip, the fourth, for me, it was public speaking. So getting out of my comfort zone and kind of presenting in front of an audience of other translators and interpreters. It was super scary at first. It still is super scary every time I walk on the stage, and I'm like, there's like 3 minutes missing. What am I doing here? Why did I decide to do this? But in the end, the kind of feedback that you get and the kind of connections that you make can be most beneficial. So for example, I met another translator at a conference at the London Language Show 2 years ago. She passed jobs to me, I passed jobs to her. We did a presentation together, and we became friends. And whenever she has someone who needs Italian marketing translation, she refers them to me. I do the same with her, because she works in a different language combination. So that can be a great way to kind of expand your network. If you're a bit shy to approach clients directly, going through other professionals can be a great way to do that.
What are some other ways where you can overcome the fear of marketing yourself if you are too shy? Because obviously you have a very outgoing personality. You go to events, you meet your clients in person, and you said your best clients were the clients you landed basically talking them by face to face and having a real life conversation. But many translators, they say that they're introverts, that they're too shy to put themselves out there, because it's very scary to put yourself out there and let the world know that you exist. So what are some steps translators can take to overcome this shyness and make this transition from having no marketing to having at least some marketing?
All right. So the first tip would be to just get over it. That's what I did. But no, I mean, understand that marketing your business is absolutely crucial. In some form or another, if you already work as a translator, you must have done some marketing, which could simply be emailing agencies or sending your CV to agencies. That is considered a marketing activity, because you're getting in touch with someone. Marketing is not just a flashy, website, social media, blogs, and having your picture all over the internet. It's not that. It can be as small as you possibly want. It could simply be that if your target market is right next door, if it's like, small travel agents, because you like to work in the travel industry for SMEs, you can simply go and meet the people, and, going into a shop is not that scary, right? And talking to a person, it's not super scary if you're not trying to sell. It's all about building a connection. So the first thing is to just push yourself outside of your comfort zone, and there will be your inner voice that will say, oh, no, you're never going to be able to do this, you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing this. But try and fight that. Accept that you're an introvert and use this to your own advantage, because it may be that a lot of clients actually are introverts themselves, so you can connect on a deeper level with them. And yeah, the second thing is just not to think of getting in touch with potential clients as a selling activity, but rather as a relationship building activity. If you manage to really think that and believe that, it will blow your mind, and it will change completely the way you think of doing marketing if you're an introvert.
Great advice.
There's another idea that helps me, that basically I know that with some clients I can provide better service if I work with them directly. For example, it's the case with app localization, and you, Dmitry, I'm sure know that it's in some cases it's much more better to app developers directly, and that way you're able to provide better service. So if I'm not marketing my services, if I'm not telling about my business, my potential clients who would benefit from knowing about me, they just wouldn't know about me, and they might hire an agency or hire someone who would be less professional than I am, and it would harm their business. So in some way, I'm trying to do a service to the clients I want to work with by telling about me. So yeah, that sometimes helps me to get out of that comfort zone you were talking about, Martina.
Of course, when you have a marketing plan, there is always something that will not go according to the plan. And, there is a saying that God loves it people who make plans, because obviously he has different plans for us. So how to not feel disappointed if you haven't met your marketing goals for the year, and just sit down and analyze what went wrong and how to improve your marketing next year?
Well, I think it's all about finding the silver lining. So obviously, if you set yourself a goal and you don't achieve it, ask yourself whether you've done everything in your capabilities to achieve that goal. And if you have so, what did you do wrong? What could you change to make things better? And see that as a way of learning about marketing a little bit more, but also about yourself, the way you work. It may be that you set yourself a goal that was not that achievable, not too realistic. So it may be a case of kind of downsizing your, I don't want to say your dreams, but your
expectations of yourself.
Yeah, your expectations of yourself. Or it may simply be that something happened in your life that kind of hindered your plan and your direction and the way you were going there. I'm thinking, for example, if you have an accident and you break your leg or your arm and you can't really work, and then obviously if you stay in your bed not working for a month, it's obviously gonna have an impact on the achievements on the results that you can achieve. So don't kick yourself too hard, but do kind of push yourself to understand what you can change. And that's why marketing strategy is so important, because if you have those objectives and those activities and that direction clearly set out, you can see, along the way what changed that didn't allow you to achieve your goal, or whether your goal was way too advanced maybe for the time that you had. It really depends on, it can depend on so many different elements, but kind of thinking of any unachievements as ways of learning more about yourself and your strategy in your business, that can be a good way to say, not to get saddened by it and get depressed. But obviously every person is different. So there is really no one way to kind of cope with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Martina, for all the useful information that you shared with us today, and also for the resources. We'll include them in the show notes, right? I hope we managed to make building a marketing strategy less complicated and probably less scary for some people. I hope you guys found it useful. Thank you for joining us today or tonight, depending on where in the world you are. Don't forget to check out the website of our sponsor by clicking the green button below, or the first link in the description if you're watching this in the recording, or just simply go into smartcat.ai. You can also visit translatorsonair.com and subscribe to our newsletter so that you don't miss future episodes. And please don't forget to share this episode. The recording will be right here on this page. You can share the link with your friends and colleagues so that they learn something about building a marketing strategy as well. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.